Welcome back, everyone, to the Intel Extreme Masters. We are live from Cologne, and currently in our second match of the day, Cloud9 already leading 1-0 after their win in the first match. But like you posed towards the end of our kind of post-match wrap-up, how much of it was to credit for Cloud9, and how much of it was really because HJK couldn't pull themselves together as a team? Now looking forward to Game 2, what do you think, Yamato?
Well, of course, you need to give a lot of credit to C9's decision-making, because this is something that everyone has complimented throughout their story in League of Legends, of course, but I felt like simply because they didn't put the TP on the Kassadin, it didn't feel like they had a clear winning condition if HJK managed to have could match their decision-making, because I don't like coming into a game with the idea that assuming your team, the enemy team is going to make mistakes pretty much.
Okay. Oh, and we're going to jump right into Pixel.
I was about to say, HJK was on the blue side, triple jungle ban. They don't have that luxury on the purple side. They have to ban other stuff. So what do you take away? Lee Sin and Nidalee both are open, and Rush is going to get one of those champions. So Lulu has to be banned, of course, and then Kindred. What are you doing right now? It's like, do you ban Nidalee? Do you ban Lee Sin? Do you leave both open? Do you give like Mundo away? Like, what's the purpose here right now?
Well, the thing is, that something that I can reveal working with Jankos a lot is the fact that he, like, to me, he's very similar to Rush, simply because of champions they've played in the past. Jankos has played a bunch of Lee Sin, a bunch of Nidalee himself, so I'm pretty sure he can pick that up as well.
Oh, okay, so prioritizing taking that Lucian away, and I mean, to this extent, of course, with the Dr. Mundo ban, both are still open, so C9 also maybe not so pressured that they have to secure a jungler first.
Actually, that Mundo ban was like, I think the Lucian first pick is really good, simply because they don't really prioritize Trundle that highly. Of course, they give it over, and Rush is like a champion that he knows the matchup, like Nidalee and Lee Sin, from both perspectives, in and outside. Like, he's fine playing the matchup in both ways, and I think that's like the reason why they just didn't care about first picking a jungler here, like Lee Sin. And yeah, we see Nidalee insta-lock, we talked about it. I like the Alistar again, pick it up again. It worked out in the first way, like in the game, so why would you change it if it works out for you?
I really hope H2K just pick up the Ryze now, because that is something that C9 didn't show on the red side. They pick up Ryze for the flex pick, can send it top lane, can send it mid. It's perfect for the second rotation of red side.
I just really want to underline, because we've said in passing multiple times that Alistar isn't a great pick into Trundle, and the reason why is because his ability to steal stats and to steal the tankiness from Alistar pretty much can make him unkillable. So the fact that I agree with the Alistar pick, but it is, again, being picked into Trundle as a flex.
Well, it's also the fact that you can interrupt the combo if you do it properly with the Trundle pillar. You can interrupt so many things with the Trundle pillar, and we even saw it once in the previous game. Really beautiful.
Yeah, interrupting the dash from the Shen, and actually securing Shen for themselves this time on HJK. I mean,
it's like a double flex, I guess. Like, Shen works depending on what C9 plans on picking right now in the top lane. It still works like as a double flex, because Shen has like a good matchup against Alistar too. It's like a free lane. That's all you need. We've seen like a lane swap, and both teams actually played out the lane swap correctly, because what they did was have the three first camps do a jungle, so your top laner hits like a bit before 2. Have the top laner go to the tower, push it down, and have the jungler solo farm. That's like the most important thing, that the jungler gets this solo experience from all the camps, so the jungler can actually do stuff on the map and pressure it correctly with like a level advantage.
The odds are, the fact that I like the Trundle flex pick here for top lane is because the odds are Balls is going to pick a melee champion. He didn't show before that he's going to pick Ryze, and that is like a huge advantage that HJK obviously has seen.
Okay, well, Malphite and Cassiopeia.
Okay. I'm not sure about Cassiopeia blind pick. There are like a lot of better picks than Cassiopeia blind. That's like the one mistake I think in the draft here.
Anivia is super good into it.
Anivia's good into it, and Trundle and Anivia works out perfectly fine. Just go with the same combo, see what you can do, but the biggest problem is like the Malphite here. Malphite is really good against Anivia, and I actually like the Malphite pick for the top lane here. It's good in both matchups. Against Trundle, sure, you get pushed in, but you can do stuff and force stuff on the map like very easily. And once you have like the Cinder Hulk, the Barmy Cinder one on, you can just like farm against Shen. So either way, it's a good pick up here, the Malphite, and LeBlanc would be pretty interesting too.
I love LeBlanc. I think is a correct choice. Pressure the Cassiopeia. She's very immobile. But what is going to define this game is, once again, C9 have this composition that is very good in the 5v5s. They have the more fights. But then again, I feel like the early game is going to be so intense, because the Lee Sin Nidalee matchup is such a skill matchup.
Okay, so on that note then, if Rush does get a lead on his own in the jungle, one way or the other, do you think, the Cassiopeia, the Malphite still isn't going to matter? C9's going to be able to get the game plan they want? Or is it still even the laners have to play a little bit more passively and just kind of wait the storm out in the beginning?
Well, it's always like if you can always transition pressure into something that favors your play style. And in this case, we have a 5v5 composition from C9, and H2K have this composition where they want to split up the enemies, of course.
All right, well, let's find out. Cloud9 currently leading 1-0. Can they close out the match 2-0, or will we see H2K climbing back in to go to a third map? We'll come back to the game, jumping right into Summoner's Rift right after this.
Yo, listen to this. Come on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne, and we are getting ready to kick off game number 2 of what has already been a very, very close and explosive series between Cloud9 and H2K.
It's a really exciting champion set this time up. Of course, we had our criticisms of Cloud9's champion select. Granted, a reprieve. Man, did they take it with that massive pole flash coming through from the Alistar. This game, though, the blind pick Cassiopeia coming through from Cloud9, then the answering LeBlanc. Most exciting thing here, we get the jungle skill matchup of Lee Sin versus Nidalee. Of course, that is the Nidalee coming through from Rush against Jankos on his signature Lee Sin. And do you know why that's so important? It's because Cassiopeia is going to need every bit of jungle pressure she can get to get through a tough laning phase. So if Rush gets on top of Jankos, it should be okay for Jensen. But if Jankos gets on top, it's going to be curtains for Jensen in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think this is very, very big stakes here for both junglers, and they're both uncomfortable signature champions that, you know, they are not going to be denied this time around since there were so many other choices in the ban priority. Looks like we could be in for a straight up 2v2 in the bot lane and 1v1 in the top, but you know, we've got the line of scrimmage set up. The teams are still not trying to do too much of an early invade, but Rush does go in and he's spotted by Odoamne instantaneously. He might get caught between the Jankos. Yeah, that's a good plan. Hoppo back over the wall.
He gets a very aggressive ward that shouldn't be possible on this new patch. Again, Nidalee has the flexibility to take Pounce at level 1, lets him get that aggressive vision that wouldn't be possible because, of course, we don't see the same sort of aggressive invades because the defensive vision can't be put down if you want to get the aggressive vision, unless, of course, you have a convenient wall hop at level 1.
Indeed worked out that way. So it will be a fairly passive start, but there is that one ward spotting for C9, so they will know that this is going to be standard lanes for them. One thing we hadn't touched on since the champ select, though, is this Malphite for balls. It has been banned throughout this tournament so far. And with the Alistar in the bottom lane, this could be a wombo of a combo when Cloud9 does decide to get team fighting.
That's why we say Cloud9 are the 5v5 comp. They have strong engage, they have strong poke, they're very well balanced in a lot of ways. H2K, what's their engage? Is it the taunt flash coming through after a pillar? Is it LeBlanc getting a pick? They are looking for the unorganized skirmishes and then to get some big teleport plays in from Odoamne. It's a risk to take a burst mid laner and a Tristana as your only true damage sources, but hey, Cloud9 made it work in the previous game. I don't know if you can put the damage from LeBlanc in the late game next to Kassadin's, though. I feel like you are going to fall a little bit short in that stakes.
Yeah, and you know, just like last game, the onus is going to be on H2K to try and make a lot of early plays, and it looks like they'll start off by taking a bite out of Sneaky, but Vander's going to get knocked up, and Piercing Light as well to get pushed back from this one. Hai's doing a great job defending. He's so far only shown this Alistar, but clearly he's been silencing critics on his mechanical level in support.
And that's the crazy thing, you know, he's on his third role. Mechanics was never something you would put next to Hai. He impressed at Worlds with his Lee Sin mechanics, and now headbutt into pole flash is an incredibly hard thing to pull off, but the 3-man knockup won them the game in a single play.
I didn't think it was worth banning either. Ryu will go in, dash, and force Jensen to back away just a little bit, but that Cassiopeia is a ticking time bomb in this mid lane. Balls takes not the greatest trade from Odo, but the minions were aggroed on him, so it will trade back even there. And speaking of time bombs, I mean, once this guy hits level 6, you can get that teleport unstoppable force. They could get a few catches of their own.
Catches is definitely something they can do. Russian Jankos, that's what it's all about this game. Again, we mentioned we have stats forgiven.
Oh, there's the trade back and forth. Sneaky's going to have to back away because Vander was taking a bite out of him, but Hai is just keeping it all healthy. Meanwhile, the junglers will fight each other out. Hai's going to have the Sonic Wave landed on him, but Jankos is not going to follow through.
It's a lot of skirmishing. The only reason there was no help coming through is we actually saw the 1v1 between the junglers just up there in the river. With this matchup, it's definitely about who face checks who. Whoever lands the first Sonic Wave or the first Spear has all the options in the duel. As once again, we see Hai going in.
Yeah, Sneaky just wasn't quite there yet. Otherwise, it would have been a fantastic trade for them. But still, he was still able to nail the Piercing Light. He's bullying right now with this Lucian. That's what you want to do, of course, versus a Tristana. But clearly, that's not something Forgiven was able to do, as Jankos now tries to get his counter jungle on, but Rush says no, thank you.
And this is just a return to Team Impulse. This is what we would have expected. You know, just putting the casual spears into mid lane. Rush is trying to create all the pressure. And you look at Hai, he's headbutt polving against a Trundle, which sounds like a death sentence because you go in, the pillar ends up behind you, and you have no way to really get out. But he's only showing that aggression because Rush has the jungle pressure advantage over Jankos. So he knows he will get jungle support much faster than H2K can put out.
Yeah, and this is really troubling for H2K. If they can't get ahead in the early game, it's going to be hard for them between Jensen, between Balls. If they can nail these team fights like they did in the last game, they shouldn't have too much trouble really causing H2K a lot of pain. But right now, it's still fairly even in lanes because there's just an only slight gold advantage in favor of C9. But that, I mean, that can snowball very quickly.
I think the thing you have to come to is you look at the CS advantage. This should be a landslide advantage for you. We should expect LeBlanc to be controlling the wave, to have kill pressure onto the Cassiopeia. How can you ever do that when you have your jungler so far behind? You are, if you're Ryu, you're expecting to get ganked at any point by Rush because Rush has had the jungle skirmish advantage over Lee Sin, and this is what Rush needed to achieve. He needed to keep Jankos in check to buy Jensen time to farm, and he's been very successful at doing that.
And as this game, just keeps up the lane phase, yeah, it really has been the eyes on Rush keeping Jankos in check, and they will find each other yet again. This time the spear doesn't connect, but meanwhile Jankos will be able to trade back forward, but Jensen goes in there, and that's going to be first blood to Ryu as he dashes in, but he gets mimicked for just a second, and in comes Jankos again, forcing the flash into Jensen, who just keeps dashing, but he's got nothing left in the tank. That will be another pickup for Jankos. 2-0 on the board for H2K.
That's the reality when you play as aggressively on the razor's edge as Rush does. Sometimes you bite off more than you can chew. That time the Sonic Wave hit. That time Ryu was the first one to rotate, and Jensen, in harassing, used his whole mana bar, and it just meant 2 kills over to H2K.
Well, we said they needed to get the catches, and that certainly was a good start to it. Jankos hanging around in the middle, but these two junglers have really been just facing off each other in the start of this game, and as we said, it has been all about that early pressure. Sneaky and Hai a little bit low on this bottom tower. This is going to give Forgiven free push here because they've got a mini wave at their back. Rush is there, but he's not going to be able to help back them up that well, so still some free damage traded over on this turret.
It's just great to track. You notice that when Cloud9 have the jungle supremacy, we see Cloud9 pushed in, we see Hai making the aggressive move. Suddenly, H2K make that big play in mid, and they're the ones making the aggressive move. They're the ones getting turret damage. This game is being completely dictated by a skill matchup between 2 of the top Western junglers, and that's exciting for everyone watching this game.
Absolutely, and not only that, they've got those signature champions, and Rush has been making this Nidalee work a lot more than Swift was able to in the last series in terms of early pressure, but Jankos, they didn't call him the king of first blood for nothing, and first assist still counts.
Still interesting to see him actually go for the Sightstone. Of course, Sightstone reduced to 3 wards. If you're using it for mobility, you often have no ward actually to put down for vision, so that's why Tracker's Knife has become more popular. Ryu's got a very fast roam that hasn't been spotted by a ward yet. This could be a successful roam for H2K.
There they go. This is going to just force them off for just a second. He actually targets out Hai, gets the chains on, and he forces a flash away as the Shen ultimate comes in. They can try to fast push this tower for a moment, but Odoamne is going to realize, no, I need to get back to lane.
And so we saw the communication breakdowns when H2K fed those 3 kills over Odoamne's 2 mistakes and Forgiven's mistake when they were trying to keep up that pressure split push game last game. Here we see another one of them. Odoamne teleporting in to give Ryu that extra health, was full health and had a Shen riding on his back. That would have been multiple kills on the turret. Now Odoamne completely wastes his time, gives Balls time to pick up free farm. Communication, once again, a problem for H2K.
They will secure the first tower and instantly look for Jensen. That's going to be the petrifying gaze, but Rush jumps on top of him. Jensen, meanwhile, is low. Jankos was still able to hang around for just a second, but Ryu by himself cannot follow this up, and he backs away. A kill picked up by Cloud9.
Pyra, that was an insane petrifying gaze behind him to stun up Jankos. That should have been a kill over to H2K, but man, Jensen, when he's on form, we saw it at Worlds, we're seeing it now, we saw it towards the end of the summer split. This guy is really performing on the world stage.
Yeah, I mean, he really has come into his own throughout the year he played with Cloud9, really settled in nicely. There were a few question marks at the very beginning, and Cloud9 had a lot of adjustment. You know, with Meteos eventually stepping down and High moving into that jungle role, they seemed like they were losing their identity a little bit, but then they made this miracle run into Worlds. They got a little bit more experience on that world stage, showcased what Incarnation, now Jensen, can do. And with this change in Rush, so far, it seems like a great start for them.
You just have to return to what Jensen walked into. He walked into replacing High. He was seen as the heir apparent, this guy who'd never actually played on the stage. And of course, he hadn't been available to play in competitive before then. It was no surprise that he was slow to warm up. There was very clearly problems between him and Meteos when it came to communication. Finally gets his tail up, and then you see him predicting an insect from Lee Sin with the petrifying gaze. And when you play with your tail up, when you have that confidence, and you have the raw mechanical skill of Incarnation, now Jensen, the results, they're a treat to watch.
Absolutely, and you know, one person we really haven't seen this from that we've expected in this series is Forgiven. But I'll talk about him in a minute because he's caught in a knockup and there's a teleport coming in to try and defend, but High is there and they've got a big bomb on him, but Odoamne is taking his time as Balls has now arrived on the scene. Instantly Forgiven will bail out. Odoamne and Vander soon to follow. Jankos is coming in. It looks like they want to have a party in the bot lane, but the taunt will not land. Jankos is not giving up. Gets the kick in, looking for Sneaky, flashes away. The pillar won't be enough, but in comes Ryu. Still can't find Sneaky. Exhaust is on Rush. Ryu goes down. Sneaky picks the kill, and Jankos is knocked and battered and bruised and taken out. Forgiven doesn't have any more escapes, and neither does Jankos. Down he goes. A double kill for Rush. Can he get the triple? It's Balls that secures it in the end.
A 4 for O and a 4v5 Pyra. Massive outplays from Cloud9. Crazy skirmishing. They draft this more balanced comp, and this is the result. It's looking like a big win for Cloud9.
Balance in all things. 5-2 on the board. It's 10 minutes in, and Cloud9 have swung that momentum in their favor. Not only do they get a big push on the bottom, there's a huge wave of minions that Jensen is herding into this turret, and it'll be a minute before Ryu can arrive.
And H2K, they did everything right. They realized it's going to be a 5v4 scenario. Ryu was already in mid, already shopped, goes out for the gank. Everything right except the execution, and Cloud9 with those signature champions, like you mentioned, specifically the Nidalee, and just the blind pick coming through here. Just wonderful play from Cloud9.
Yeah, and H2K really forced this bottom lane engage. There were so many near misses, and they kept adding more people to the scenario, and it just complicates things and muddies the water, and in the end, Cloud9 were able to just completely clean them up. This is teamwork. This is what it'll do. Jensen takes a big bite, or has a big bite taken out of him by Ryu, but with Jankos waiting in the wings, I feel like Jensen, even though he doesn't see this, has to know something is up.
Look, Jensen has nothing to worry about. He's had a death, sure, but he's ahead in CS. That's the crazy thing, is that he's winning in CS in this matchup that heavily favors the LeBlanc. It's going to pick up the scaling item. The fact that you can go scaling items and win CS against an assassin like LeBlanc, who has that oppressive laning phase, although Jensen...
Don't speak too soon. He throws the Petrifying Gaze out as a precaution, but he will have to back away. He's going to lose out on some CS here, but that's perfectly fine as long as he stays safe enough. Rush goes ahead and clears out a ward as Cloud9 looks to push in the top side. Forgiven is there, but they're being headed off by Rush, who's now getting his counter jungle on. This tower should fall. Ryu can try to keep Jensen away. Oh, he might zero him out here, but there it goes. Jensen taken away. Ryu, Ignite is ticking on him, but Jankos is there to give him a little bit of a shield. Nonetheless, Cloud9, unperturbed, continue to push in this top.
That was an insane series of plays there. Jensen goes down, even though he predicted the Mimic Distortion, the Flash Mimic Distortion. Still falls, really nice trade, but I mean, the trade's not going to happen in terms of structures. Cloud9, they're confidently pushing onto an inner turret.
Not enough people here to defend. Now, Jankos will be coming up, Ryu as well, but he's so low on health. What is he going to be able to do? One full spell rotation, and he's going to change his mind on this one. There's no reason he can be here, because he will not get there to defend in time. Another turret taken by Cloud9, 3-1. The tables have really turned from last early game.
And we have to return to that communication fact. The fact that Ryu had to turn, had the indecision. Remember, he actually has the Frost Queen's claim. When he's auto-attacking a turret, the AP ratio to turrets was increased, so that means that mages in general do more damage to turret. And every auto-attack with the Spell Thieves does an extra 15 damage. Realistically, if he was decisive in pushing down the mid turret, he probably would have got it to maybe one auto-attack away or taken it down. But being called top and then going back mid bought precious time for Cloud9, and they continue to win these objective trades.
It looked like they're pushing even further for the third one, but Vander, Jankos, Forgiven are all there. Ryu's joining the party as well, so they can't quite siege this up until they can force H2K into another fight. Vision coverage throughout the river. Rush has been really great at clearing these out, but he's got to be really careful now because Vander was chasing him down. The spooky ghosts come out. The pillar's up, but he hops right over it. High there for the defense. H2K just can't find too many picks, and sure, you'll be able to get a few good plays on LeBlanc, but if that's all you've got in your pocket, this game goes over 30 minutes, you're not going to win.
And you talked about Rush. Look at the level difference between the junglers. 2 levels between the junglers in a skill matchup tells you everything you need to know. Rush has dictated the pace of this game, consistently allowed Cloud9 to overextend, consistently gave Jensen a chance. We mentioned, because it's a counter matchup with a skill matchup in the junglers will decide mid. Either Incarnation, now Jensen, will find that farm, and Cassio is high. Not going to get anything from that. Either he'll apply pressure to allow Cassio to farm, or he'll just allow the LeBlanc to just completely dictate the mid lane and roam, and neither of those things happen for H2K.
Yeah. Oh, big bite of damage, but Rush, they still can't quite 100-0 people, or rather Ryu can't, but if he can do a couple more of those and they've got the team at his back, they may be able to start forcing things on the side of H2K. Remember, they're only down about 3,000 gold, but that's mostly in towers right now since there's a 2-tower advantage to Cloud9. If he's able to zero somebody out, Ryu can lead the team to start taking down towers, no problem, and they can't keep covering them forever. Cloud9 have to rotate around the map sooner or later.
I think Ryu's going to need help, though, to pick up these picks, whether it's just one Sonic Wave Resonating Strike. The fact that he's gone for the GP10 build, of course, only the 50 AP coming through for the Frost Queen's claim. Okay, he has insane pick, remember. Double mobility into chain, potentially the 2 chains. That's a lot of mobility, but it's just less damage coming through from the LeBlanc than you'd expect. It's not Merlinomicon, it isn't the 80 AP. So the fact that he's only getting close to getting those picks means he needs some support to actually pick up those kills.
A lot of roaming through the jungle here. This could be a messy fight if it catches in time, but no. Ryu will back away and send out the Spooky Ghost. They know the blue buff's being taken. Can't really stop it unless he wants to try for a risky steal, but there's really no need here. A siege on the top side by Forgiven and Vander. The tower will finally go down to the mid, but it really just took its stiff breeze to knock over. It must have been on 3 HP or something.
You can see that the meta is starting to swing back towards Cloud9. The reason why I say that, champions like Malphite, champions like the tanks we saw last game in Shen, much more suits Ball's champions. Ball. Okay, he picked up a pentakill at Worlds, but he wasn't realistically going to be the dominant Riven Fiora. But Riven and Fiora are starting to become more and more risky picks. You can make the Fiora work, certainly.
Oh, chains landed. Back away just in time. Jensen has got to stay on his toes this time. He's an absolutely fantastic player. We've been talking about his dynamite plays, what he showed throughout this last year on Cloud9. Nonetheless, Ryu is still Ryu. We know what he can do when he has the right champion in his hands, and this LeBlanc has been an incredibly aggressive pick. The extra cooldown reduction he's had mean he's just had even more chances to try and knock somebody out of the park. He's netted him 2 kills with a little bit of help from Jankos, but how long can he keep this up?
That's the question, and the item build isn't particularly high damages. We mentioned it already, Frost Queen's Claim is going to be the Abyssal second. He probably needs that to just get that little bit of edge further over the Cassiopeia and just guarantee those trades. But with Double Rod of Ages, the usually squishy Nidalee and Cassio, going to be slightly more tanky as H2K looking for a turret dive.
Yep, Sneaky might be caught. Jankos goes in, flashes, gets the kickoff, but now he's caught under tower. That means the Stand United will come in. Sneaky will evaporate Jankos before it can come out. Shutdown gold given to Vander, however, as he picks off Sneaky on the backside. And now Balls is incoming, looking for the chase down. That'll be the pillar to slow him down for just a minute. You can even see around the side, Rush is looking for a collapse. Ryu's there for the defense as well, but H2K know that they need to back out. They know that they've got the speed, and they will be able to disengage. A 1-for-1 trade overall.
Yeah, Cloud9, you could see the reason why Rush was going for that flank is he wanted to try and get Shen to use his summoner spell Teleport. If Shen has both Teleport and Stand United up, it is going to be a struggle for Cloud9 to pull off those cross-map rotations, but Balls has no teleport. Shen holds on to it. It's just a 1-for-1 trade. And of course, swapping your jungler for an AD carry, great trade for H2K.
Now Works out for them in the long run. They definitely need a bit more gold in their pocket, and they had their sights set on Sneaky. Still, though, Jankos got blown up really quick.
I mean, he went for a very aggressive turret dive. He actually flashed to get the mini stun from the kick against the wall. Okay, they pick up the kill they're looking for, but don't get any other objectives out of it. Can they actually translate this teleport advantage from Shen into some more objective pushing?
That's always the question, but Cloud9 are looking for a lot of mobility themselves. I mean, you take a look at the Alistar build out of high right now, picks up the boots of speed, or swiftness, I should
Boots
say.
of swiftness.
I wanted to say mobility, and I was like, that's the wrong boots.
The Udyr boots.
The
I like
Udyr
to think
boots.
of Udyr or Garen only.
I
back
built them
in
on
the day.
Singed, actually.
But they're just so damn cheap now. That's the thing.
Yeah,
The efficiency of them has
cost-effective.
gone up. They're super cost effective.
Balls flashed. I don't think he needed to, but he's still going to get dove under the tower. Jankos will kick him back. Now he might have needed to, and with 3 members on him, as tough as a rock as he is, Forgiven will still manage to shred him to pieces. This is going to be an H2K tower. Once the minion wave arrives, they'll be able to wreck it down, but Cloud9's already pushing on the opposite side.
I mean, H2K has to do this. We spoke about it in Champions Select, both the analyst desk and we called out the fact that H2K, they don't have that balanced team fight on. They only have so many options. Skirmish really suits their style, so they want to keep trading objectives, but how can you trade evenly when you're trading against just a single duo of Lucian and Nidalee? You're going to have that attack speed steroid. Even Tristana can do a lot of work, but Cloud9, this is not really a race that I think H2K can win when it comes to taking down turrets.
No, but they do have the Tristana on their side, and they are unopposed as of yet. Balls is back up. He's going to come back to the tower, and they trade an inner for an outer, but Cloud9 now still have 4 members in this mid, and they don't have the minions at their back, though, so they're going to have to back away. A lot of vision for Cloud9 around this river, too, though. If they can bait H2K into an unsavory fight, or even a pick. Oh, the flash did not connect there with the pulverize. Still, quick thinking from high.
That's
Just
okay.
not accurate.
People won't remember that one. They'll remember the one from game 1, so don't worry about it, High. Okay, we went for a bit too optimistic a play there. Worth noting they got an inner turret in the top lane and that outer turret in the mid lane, so a lot of control around the dragon was picked up from Cloud9. H2K, with the back timers, they're going to pick up the first dragon of the game at 19 minutes. This is the meta we're in, folks. 19 minutes for the first dragon, just because after the first one, it's kind of downhill from there, because games just aren't going towards that 5th dragon win condition that was so heavily established in the 2015 season.
Yeah. Still a few more seconds before the Rift Herald will take his leave of the Rift as well, but Baron won't be a likely objective of either of these teams quite yet. Cloud9 just taking out a little bit more of their own jungle and looking to push back in. There really is a lot of scattered vision for H2K here. I feel like they're just trying to grab objectives really wherever they can. A very, very reactionary style of play, but you kind of expect this, as we said, from a team that's a lot more raw, that haven't had enough time to play together.
I mean, they tried to play proactive in game 1. It worked for a time, and then it really counted against them. It's worth knowing that Cloud9 are ahead in turrets and ahead in terms of map pressure with scaling items. They have double Rod of Ages on their side compared to no scaling items apart from, I guess you could count, the GP10 that's going to be coming out consistently from the Frost Queen's claim. To have map pressure, to have a structure advantage with the scaling Rod of Ages on 2 champions, this lead is bigger than is implied by the 1 kill and 1,500 gold lead that so far Cloud9 hold.
Yeah. You also got to talk about, well, I would talk about Cassiopeia if he wasn't getting zeroed out, but the rest of the team is there to defend. Vander now is going to be the one knocked into the team. He has to flash, but again, Odoamne's teleport comes in a little bit too late. He will tank up a few shots of culling, but all of Cloud9 are looking to chase down Ryu now as he throws the chains out, connects on Rush, has to back away and doesn't get the stun out. A big wave pushing in the favor of H2K, but Cloud9 have got one in the top, and they know that they can start trading in the mid for the turret.
Ryu isn't spotted. Okay, ward goes down, so now Ryu's going to have to make a different route. Only has mana for 1 rotation. It's going to have to be super, super careful. Cloud9 keep pushing, but
He has to take
H2K
out
looking for
Sneaky.
something.
See if Ryu comes around the side. He doesn't quite get in there. Has to back off. He still has a little bit of mana in his pocket, but he'll have to wait for his cooldowns to reset. And now Cloud9, knowing something's up, are going to back away, play the safe game. Now turning back around as they see Ryu backing away. Still, a massive, massive wave in the top for Cloud9, and they know that the minions will crash against their wave in the bottom, and they can keep on this push.
Viewers might be wondering, why are we seeing so much Nidalee on patch 523? Remember, Nidalee does get some little buffs to her early jungling on 524, but with these blue trinkets, you can ward your flanks so easily, and these structures, they're weaker in the early game especially, so pushing down turrets is the name of the game. So much global gold now comes down from taking a turret. Even inner turrets grant massive amounts of global gold, continues that snowball. So these Nidalee comps, they're very much in the meta.
Absolutely, and really it has been a series so far, a lot less about fighting like we saw with Xiaogu and Dignitas, a much more chess-like series, rotation-based. It's the kind of thing that you'd expect to see in Korea, so I bet you're right at home, Papa Smithy.
Right at home here, despite being in Cologne, we are seeing the structure game being played pretty effectively by Cloud9. Okay, in game one, they got that reprieve, despite not having the teleport on Kassadin. H2K made the rookie mistakes that come with being a lineup that's only been practicing for 2 days, and then Cloud9 took it. But this has been the Cloud9 we hope to see. Decisive, and speaking of decisive, this Baron's being rushed down.
Absolutely. They got it down to half right now, but Jankos is here. Hai will get the headbutt off on him, kicks him back into the Baron pit. Odo's here. It's going to be secured by Odoamne, and now H2K's got the Baron, but they've lost one. They're going to lose two. No, he's taunting away. No, Sneaky will fire him down. Balls is in the front, but 3 members of H2K have the Baron, and what the hell was that steal?
Rush took his eyes off the prize, didn't even use a charge of Smite, still has Smite available. Obviously was more concerned and just doing damage to the diving in Lee Sin. Stolen by, of all champions, Shen. We're talking about, what, a 200 damage nuke coming through from his Q? Ridiculous steal from H2K, and just a mistake from Cloud9's new jungler.
Yeah, normally we call Shen a terrible ninja, but this time he was able to sneak away. Let's take a look at that play again. Hai gets the play off, gets kicked back in. It looks like it's Cloud9's.
Taunt flash comes through from Odoamne, and then just damage, incidental damage from Odoamne, gets the kill with Smite available. There is no reason that shouldn't have been a pickup from Cloud9, so just eyes off the prize for Rush.
Did he get the taunt off on Rush, though? That's the question.
It doesn't matter. Smite still is available to be used when you're stunned. It's only suppression that can stop the casting of Smite, so you just have to look at Rush, and he won them this early game. He won Jensen a reprieve, 1-2-2, but still competitive in CS in a counter matchup because of the pressure exerted by Rush. But when it comes to the Smite on the objective, that was the one time, his finger wave.
That finger waver will give Cloud9 some headaches for now. Still 3 members with the Baron buff pushing down this wave of minions. It's going to be hard for Cloud9 to really keep the pressure off. Odoamne is actually looking to chase down Sneaky for just a minute. Hai will get connected by the Sonic Wave. Ryu, though, looking to get the pick off, but Hai instantly comes in, gets the knockback. Ryu and Odo are going to back off.
He expended his flash there, knowing that otherwise Sneaky would go down. Wow, actually wins the trade in damage.
Yeah, that looked bad for a minute.
Definitely looked bad, but Hai, he knew he had to use the flash. It's so painful to use your flash defensively on Alistar, but he knew combo coming through from Ryu, even with this GP10 focus build, would have been enough to take down Sneaky and thus probably even break the base from there. So smart play from Hai once again.
Now a large mini wave from H2K on the top side. Ryu is starting his back, but waiting to see if he needs to come in for the counter engage. But it's going to be hard for him to 0 to 100 balls, even though it's a mostly armor build from him. A lot of heavy pressure in the jungle now in H2K's favor because they know they've got the lanes. But if Cloud9 can hold off this Baron, they've still got a gold lead, they've still got a tower lead, and they should be able to get right back to what they were doing.
Speaking of the tower lead, we've actually seen the effect of that in the bottom lane, because there is a significant turret advantage to Cloud9, so of course the minions are going to be pushing a little bit harder in the bottom lane. It means that in general they're going to have further vision up the lane because the minions have been pushing in. In the top lane it's equalized, all 4 turrets are down. And the mid lane, again, slight pushing advantage for the Cloud9 minions in both mid lane and bot lane.
And that's despite the Baron buff as well, although there haven't been as many H2K members with the Baron buff still in there. Forgiven, he jumps forward once again aggressively. This time there's no one around to really punish him for it. A few pot shots on the tower, but the rest of Cloud9 are here. The cavalry's arrived. Ryu actually is looking to split push down this bottom side, but he should draw a quick reaction from the C9 team. Usually
it'd be laughable for LeBlanc to be split pushing, but we mentioned it before, AP ratio to turret's gone up, so in general mages do more auto attack damage, and with this Frost Queen's claim, every auto attack does 15 extra damage to structures even as well, so is a more formidable split pusher than previously.
Yeah, but look at that, Sneaky making short work of the mini wave, a little help from Hai as well. It's going to be hard for H2K to keep this push going. They will, however, secure themselves another dragon. We've mentioned before it's not quite as important, but when it's effectively free, there's no reason not to take it.
Exactly. The stats aren't going to be that relevant. The 5th dragon win condition probably not going to be found there. Spooky goes.
Oh, he gets a massive combo off, but Sneaky's going to flash the chains and heal for good measure. They'll be able to get away, but not without a huge cost.
Yeah, an extra summoner spell used by Sneaky, but suddenly team fights are looking possible for H2K. They have the inferior team fight comp, but Sneaky with neither summoner against a LeBlanc, a very fed LeBlanc at this point, at least in terms of items, should have death cap very soon. Suddenly, windows in team fights starting to be opened by H2K.
Small advantages, small edges. The gold lead is so slight right now, and it's still 6 towers to 4 in favor of Cloud9. Remember, they're a game up on this one. They take this win here, and they knock H2K out of IEM Cologne and go forward to face off against Ever tomorrow. But HBK are going to try to take this one to game 3.
This game's certainly not decided. It was looking really rough for H2K earlier in the game, maybe 15 minutes ago, but credit to them, they've kept their eyes on the prize, they've managed to stay in. Okay, once again, a small mechanical mistake made a big effect as Rush.
Goes in, but Ryu's going to follow forward on the tip of the chain. He shuts him down. Hai's got a traffic cone in his face, but he will be able to rejoin his teammates. H2K, however, are on the offensive. Forgiven, leading a bunch of minions all towards the tower. The Spooky Ghost connect. Hai and Balls just keep on tanking the shots, and Jensen and Sneaky are in the back line. I think H2K know they can't follow this any farther forward, but they don't need to. They've got a Shen pushing in the top lane.
It's the Ryu show you're seeing right here. He's the one getting the picks. He's the one trading on the power advantage he had. And keep going.
They're looking for Jensen. He's got a little shield on him, but that's a big shutdown for Sneaky. Balls comes in, unstoppable force, double kill over to the Lucian, and he's slowed down for just a minute, but H2K have lost 2, and they keep on retreating. Balls throws it out, looks for Vander. Forgiven has to burn the flash, down to so low health. The poison ticks him down, and that's C9 continuing to chase through. It's a 3-for-1 with Rush the only one lost on Cloud9's side.
Crazy that Cloud9 could come up ahead there. Odo Amne was able to teleport in on the Shen, apply the shield, but it wasn't enough. They got the first pick crucially onto Ryu. Dies with his Ignite, of course, didn't have flash up at all. And the push is not going to stop these turrets. This is the difference in 523. Whenever you get a pick, the death timers are longer and the turrets start falling.
28 minutes is starting to be the new standard late game at this point. Inhibitor should go down here, but Vander and Odo Omne are going to try to slow it down. However, there's the knock-up, the knock-back, the taunt, but Odo is oh so low, has to flash away just to stay alive. The minions will finish the turret off, but now Balls might be in a little bit of trouble. Jankos comes around the side, gets the kick, knocks Sneaky up with him, but that just means they can retreat together. And with Ryu on the chase, maybe he can make something happen. Sends the Spooky Ghost, shut down onto Sneaky. Rush manages to get his Zhonya's pop, but he's going down after this. Doesn't take Odo Omne with him. Another flash burn, and now it's all on Hai to try and make his great escape. Another 2 kills, this time secured by H2K.
Hunting season in the early game was all about the Nidalee. Now it's all about Ryu. Hai doesn't have ult. He does actually have hold of it. Does he have the mana to do it? Can't really tell. Just trying to buy time.
With the minions there, it's just easy peasy. Ryu picks up another. Before all that action happened, I really wanted to talk about this too. On H2K last year, Ryu was known for being the man holding down the mid lane, but every now and again, he would have these breakout games on champions like Ahri. He loves these assassins. He knows, we all know he loves to play them for various reasons. But when he has these breakout games, it's so hard to stop him because it's a wild card.
It's always nice to see flashes of the 2013 Ryu that was considered a top 2 mid laner in the world. Crawley wasn't able to go to the Season 3 World Championship with the KD Rolster Bullets, but these performances, unfortunately, they're at times few and far between, but when they do, when they are pulled off, his veteran status, his intelligence as a player leads to games like this where he's really, despite an average laning phase, specifically in a counter matchup against Jensen, it's looking good in the late game, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. We just hit the 30-minute mark, and this guy, 5-2-3, helps his team secure up the Baron. Now, the question for H2K is, how do they try to push this one towards the end? There is only 1 turret remaining outside of Cloud9's base, or rather 2, I should say, but those should be easy work if they can send the minions down the line. They didn't lose anything for taking that Baron. And H2K right now, they're in the driver's seat, and this is the first time we've seen it in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, the wave clear for Cloud9 isn't going to be enough. Of course, not one of Cassiopeia's strong suits, and Sneaky will do his job, but in reality, Baron buff, and then just one satchel rotation coming through from the Chitana should allow them to take at least at minimum this last outer turret. Can they get the initiation though? Because we spoke about it in Champ Select. Not true initiation from H2K. It's only when the overstays start with Cloud9 the pillars start to be enough to really start fights for H2K.
Yeah, and they just had to be conflict avoidant here. You saw Jankos doing the last second dodge out of the Pulverize, but Odo Omne is pushing unopposed on the bottom. Shen shouldn't have any trouble taking this one out with a massive wave of minions at his back. Now you can see the quick rotations from Cloud9, but it's already too late. And with some H2K members at his back, all they need to do is keep moving them around and dancing to their own drumbeat, and they should be able to secure more towers. Now only 1 outer tower will remain.
It's on the outer turret in mid that we expect Tristana to be training down shortly. Cloud9 throwing all their resources and trying to keep it alive.
But Ryu can just keep on doing this. He keeps scaring the pants off of Jensen and Sneaky, and he is at that point where he should be able to easily 100-0 someone if no protection comes in. Ryu stepping forward, but he's always got his way to distort back.
Cloud9 just don't have the resources to catch a LeBlanc in one of these aggressive rotations. They don't have the likes of Morgana. They don't have the Maokai. Those are the sort of champions that, of course, shut down Faker back at MSI. This LeBlanc is pretty much getting free reprieves to go for these aggressive moves. If Rush can hold him off, that's enough. But in reality, the counterplay to this late game LeBlanc is minimal for Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have that many tools, like you said. You need to, oh, Balls just gets the unstoppable force, but all it does is disengage from the bottom turret, just in time for Sneaky and Rush to get there. The real issue for Cloud9 is they need split-second timing to be able to execute Ryu. Only an unstoppable force or a really well-timed pulverize, which we did see one, will be able to pull that off. Problem is, Ryu's not even giving that opening. Oh, Rush! That HP, and he just barely hops the wall before Jankos can follow through.
It's disgusting damage now that the Void Staff's completed. And look, in all that distraction, Forgiven casually walks up, and all he's done this series, this guy known for lane dominance, known for getting big CS advantages. Okay, he's managed to get the CS advantage, but he hasn't picking up the kills. He certainly hasn't been padding the KDA. But the first 20 minutes of game one and now this late game here is all about the structures this series is Forgiven.
Oh, and this is him playing for the team. This is a little bit more what we saw on Forgiven's time at Gambit, as opposed to his time with SK Gaming, where he had these so many games he just wasn't killed at all. He was executing people constantly, but this is an evolution of him. As Odoamne teleports away, will not be able to be stopped by Balls, gets back up to his turret. Even though the Dragon was secured by Cloud9 there, it's still very minimal. It's just going to slow down that ever unlikely 5th Dragon push, but I mean that's like total completionist mode to try and pick that one up anyways. I feel like H2K is not going to go for that win condition at all.
Baron, I think, is the big thing for H2K. Suddenly, Shen goes from being a decent split pusher to being a massive one when he has the Baron buff minions at his aid as he chunks through the turrets with the key strike passive. So Baron buff's going to be the contestation. I think if H2K can pick up the third and I would imagine final Baron, they should be able to close out this game. But before that, we should see just some more farming, and the late game builds, they're certainly on the way.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a bit of a lull just because that's not available right now, and H2K, again, they don't need to force the fights. In fact, it's really bad for them to try and do that right now just because of the Wombo combo that Cloud9 can bring. They know this, though, and they can keep playing around, trying to get Cloud9 to run across the map and pull catches like this. Look at Balls. Way too low, no mana, the taunt's on. They've got this CC, and they can just very slowly batter him down.
Here we talked about catches. This is the reality of Vander. He's playing the Trundle. He's able to put those resists down. And even though we're talking about Sunfire Cape, Thorn Mail, Abyssal Warden's Mail, you can still do enough damage if you're getting shredded by the support Trundle. Trundle's ultimate does not scale with items. Only need a couple of levels, and you can be so damn relevant with just Pillar and the ultimate.
Especially against somebody like Malphite. Seal away all the resistances if you can. A whole chunk of armor that he's actually had there. Jensen gets knocked back and blown away by Forgiven, but he doesn't go down. Ryu will tank a few shots. Forgiven as well. Without the minions, it's going to be hard for them to take this, but they're going to tank it up anyways. Tristana shreds these towers just so damn fast. Odo goes in. Sneaky just manages to get away with half of his life. High's in the middle, trying to find something to do, but he can't get a pick. H2K are razzle-dazzling this team right now, and Cloud9 are on the back foot. An inhibitor will go down, but Jensen trying to make the hero play. Exhaust on a Forgiven. There's the Stand United 3-man knock-up and knock back as Jankos is forced into Jensen. That's going to be a pickup for Sneaky onto Jankos, but High is going to follow as well as Jensen. 2 members of Cloud9 down. H2K trying to retreat, trying to back away, but Rush is so low here. Sneaky will finally pick up Odoamne, but they're still healthy enough to keep this push on, and they might just secure this inhibitor yet.
Yeah, 2 for 2, but crucially, Forgiven is full health. That means that the structures will continue to rain down. It was a lovely taunt flash to start the fight, but 2 for 2 and an inhibitor, you'll take that if you're H2K.
And they can go straight down bottom if they really want to, but they'll just take away some jungle right now. Forgiven will grab himself a red buff. They can back away. It's a minute till Baron at this point, and they look in a comfortable lead as they even up the turret score and take the first, or take an inhibitor down.
Sure, the analyst desk is smiling because it's been all about the tanks. Has it, Pyra? We've got the likes of armor stacking and magic resist stacking everywhere, and we get to the stage where it feels like Rush is fairly useless. The damage is not really coming out from the Nidalee. It feels like the last few times I've tried to push up and actually get the siege on, they've been caught out by Ryu especially. It has been the Ryu show. He's had this game like a yo-yo. It's been completely at his own beckons call, and Ryu, that mid-game, the fact that he carried them through what was a very rocky early game orchestrated by Rush, now we get to the point where Rush just really can't affect the team fights.
No, and it's not just because of the Nidalee scaling factor, too. It's because of the atomization. This has been allowed by the fact that they've put a lot of their eggs in the Cassiopeia basket, and, you know, Malphite doing a little bit of magic damage as well means that all they really need to do is itemize. You can see the 3 Spirit Visages on the side of H2K. And to be honest, they're itemizing armor against Forgiven, but he's actually got himself some pen. You get to this late stage of the game, he builds himself the Lord Dominik's Regards. Now you see C9 trying to force this Baron, but it's completely spotted by H2K. They're all in the area. It is going down fast, however, and they need to make a play. In comes Jankos, kicks balls into the Baron tentacle. Now they look for Sneaky. Baron be damned. They can try and get a pick off here. Jankos goes in, looks for Rush, takes down the kitty cat. Jankos will fall, but so will Sneaky. And now it's going to be Cloud9 melting away as Forgiven and crew just keep on chunking them down. Balls will evaporate. All but High are down here, and he is just a massive side of beef. They don't even need him. They can rush for the mid.
Yeah, with these long death timers at 37 minutes, the death time is still massively long. We're going to watch the support tank fight between Trundle and Alistar.
Just got to stop the port.
Yeah, just stopping the port, exactly. Not that Alistar could do too much in a 1v4 situation. H2K, you have to say, we went back to game one, H2K had the game, and then a couple of needless deaths and split pushes. That's what opened up Cloud9 getting back to this game. Remember, this game turned on a Smite war that was won by, of all people, Shen. And it's going to be 1-1, amazingly, in this series.
One of the longest games we've seen so far, 38 minutes on the dot, and H2K will seal the deal 1-1 to tie this one up.
Just a crazy game. The fact that Rush had Smite, it was available, and he didn't pick up that first Baron. 2 Barons later, H2K take down the game. That's the Forgiven we expect. Actually played the team fights much better in the late game. It's crazy how polarizing this series has been. First game, all about H2K playing smart in the early game and Cloud9 eventually catching up. And then we just flip roles and play it again in game 2.
Yeah. Well, it's good you mentioned that Baron, too, because that really was the turning point. When something like that happens, first of all, you get a big momentum swing because you get that bonus that you can then use effectively. H2K certainly did that. The other issue is how much of that becomes a mental game because, you know, somebody like Rush is clearly not going to get individually affected. Even Cloud9 is a very, very calm and collected team for the most part. But sometimes you just can't shake that, oh man, if I just was able to do this, if I was just able to secure it up, it would have been different. And I feel like that phase says it all.
Yeah, I'm going to summate it in one term, this series so far. Game 1, H2K have all the map pressure, lose it in an instant with a couple of picks, and Cloud9 win the game. This game, Rush gives Cloud9 all the early pressure. They lose the Baron, suddenly the minions are pushing out, suddenly Shen's split push is effective, and H2K win easily.
Yep. So with that said and done, I mean, we got a series on our hands. So far, it has been a fantastic day to start this one off. I mean, that last series was incredible for very different reasons. This is a much more methodological game, both games 1 and 2. But I really, really feel like, you know, this third one, winner take all, obviously, is going to bring the A game from both these teams.
Yeah, methodical style was the winner in both those games, and it sounds like we're going to get another Korean-style game to finish off what has been a really close series between H2K and Cloud9.
Absolutely. But with that said and done, we're going to throw it back to the expert desk to break down game number 2 before getting into number 3.
Thank you, Pyra, and of course, Papa Smithy. I mean, they kind of hit the nail on the head, of course. Just if you want to summarize the game, it's, yeah, as usual, you know, Baron, kind of a big deal, one way or the other. When you make that choice, you got to make sure it's the right one, because otherwise it can swing the other way. Is there anything else that really stood out to you, though, while watching this game?
It's like the first thing that comes to mind. I feel like the one thing that kept them in the game is the fact that they were able to pick the LeBlanc into the Cassiopeia and the Maul fight. And with that in mind, it gives them this game-winning thing where they just split up the map, and of course LeBlanc is really good into the Cassiopeia. So the one thing I need to question is the Cassiopeia blind pick, because I do not like it at all.
I mean, he got solo killed, which was... yeah, that's like, why would you pick Cassiopeia blind when you have so much more stuff? Like, I think even Anivia would have been better probably, right? Or yeah. Victor, obviously Victor's not the optimal blind pick, but it's one of the safer picks. But Ryze, yeah, but I don't think there's... If this team would have played Ryze, we would have seen it in game 1 already. So clearly, C9 did not prepare the Ryze pick for this tournament, which can be a very huge factor because it is one of the strongest picks on this patch.
And likewise, kind of picking back off all of that, Ryu really stepped up in this game from his Anivia performance in the first game. And this is kind of like the skill ceiling. You know, when you say that Ryu, weakest player, it's by no means like that's just how good H2K are. And they finally got to show kind of that, maybe the cusp of the competitive ceiling, or just kind of easing into it. Obviously, there was a Baron that swung a lot, but Ryu kept them in that game on the LeBlanc pick and allowed time to find that Baron steal to let Forgiven kind of ramp up into his own.
Yeah, Ryu played that very well. Like every time C9 was trying to siege, Ryu was always ready for the flank. And
On the
even if he got
flank.
spotted, he was always just making sure he cleared wards. And that threat was always there. Like Ryu might just jump on us and eliminate one of our carries. And from there on, of course, HK has a lead. Granted, you know, Cloud9, and like you guys mentioned, I mean, they were playing well in the early game. And of course, the Baron swung things in the favor for HK, but by no means we got to give credit to Ryu and the rest of his squad over on HK. So that means we do have a series tied 1-1 yet again in our second match, ladies and gentlemen. We will take a break, and when we come back, it's time to find out which of these teams moves on to day 2 here at the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne.